Hello, this is Marshall Zhukov, and here we are together again on YouTube. Yep, I guess taking a line out of Britney Spears' old song, Oops, I Did It Again, or however it went. I guess I did it again. Before you is a Mosin Nagant rifle. Some of you probably have already got an idea of what it is, just by looking this far right here. Some people probably already know. Sometimes it is kind of hard to tell, but the overall length is not consistent with that of an M91. And here for comparison is an M91. It doesn't quite look like they're quite lined up in the back. Maybe like this part of the stock is slightly longer. It is a two-piece finished stock on the M91 anyways, but this is just kind of a look at the M91 and the Dragoon rifle side by side. We can see the difference in the handguards here. This is a second pattern handguard. Early patterns would go all the way back actually to where the barrel shank is rounded. Model 91 handguards just have the barrel bands that hold them in place atop the barrel. Not uncommon to find them without it, but I guess we can save that for a different video. Here we can just see the slight difference in length here. I guess I could try to do this here. Got a tape measure handy. And we can see it's about 2 3/4 or so shorter than the M91. Sights are the same, everything else is basically the same. This is a recycled, this here on the M91 is a recycled receiver, and I do believe this is, I have to take it apart to make sure, but I believe it is a matching receiver on this Dragoon rifle. The Finnish M91 is a rifle I've had for a little while, so we're going to focus primarily here on the Dragoon rifle. We'll take a look in here, and we can see on the top of the receiver flat, when we focus properly, that the Imperial Eagle has been peened over. And as we can tell on the rest of the barrel shank, it used to be an Imperial Eagle stamped up here near the forward portion of the shank, and we can barely just make out what's left of the Izhevsk bow and arrow. So this is a 1917 Izhevsk Dragoon rifle. Everything that we see here on the barrel shank and receiver is consistent with Balkan imported Mosin Nagant rifles. A lot of times you will see these areas here are ground off, sanded off, whatever they did. Looks like they kind of took them to a belt sander, and it looks like the 4 was re-stamped there. It's hard to tell what this is over here after the 8. It looks like it's been X'd out. Really can't make out what it used to be. So I've procured a magnifying glass. See how close we can get here with the magnifying glass in place. And it looks like it possibly is an X'd out E, which is a popular character that's stamped after serial numbers on Balkan import rifles. I've seen E's and F's. I've got a couple examples that do have letter suffixes after the serial number. For whatever reason it got X'd out, I'm not sure, but interesting enough. It just looks like this was taken to a sanding wheel or something, and we can see on top of the receiver the the sanding marks. If I can get the light angles and everything going here, we can see them kind of running across the top of the receiver flat. So what makes this a Dragoon rifle is the length of it. It's essentially the length of a 9130, maybe about a half-inch longer, somewhere in there. And the Dragoon rifles had different types of barrel bands that were installed on them. This rear barrel band is actually a common 9130 barrel band, the split ring type. This is also a pattern of barrel band. It's a solid Dragoon barrel band. They also had some other patterns that had a small button at the bottom of them. And it has still got the original Russian style front sight as well. This rifle has not been counterbored, but it is import marked. So it probably came in with a crate of 9130s, which is totally possible. I haven't been able to find any cartouches on the stock that are anything out of the ordinary. A small, odd-looking, almost finished Seiko gear style, but I don't believe this to have any type of a finish organization at all. Wherever these marks came from, it's hard to say. It kind of looks like the stock was just shellacked or some type of a stock finish put over it and left from there. That's an older Tula hammer, and we can also see here with the right angle of light that this number has been restamped. The other number that was on here sanded off, probably taken to the old sanding wheel, and that's also what happened back here as well. The bolt is not matching. It's got a hodgepodge of parts. There's a Tula star on there, but the bolt is an older style cocking knob anyways. So it probably was just a bolt thrown in it, put together from a pile of parts. Interesting rifle. I haven't seen myself any that are dated this early, and this technically isn't necessarily early. I suppose it's kind of midway through production of Dragoons. Dragoon production began shortly after the model 1891 production started. They realized they were kind of long, unwieldy for cavalry, so oftentimes you'll see on the tops of these sights the Cyrillic KAV and Cyrillic KAZ for cavalry and Cossack rifles, and they will have sometimes identifying stamps on the barrel shank as well. This doesn't appear to have any. If it did, it may have been sanded. They may have been sanded away, but I highly doubt that it did at any time. And that adds just another interesting element to Mosin Nagant rifles. Now the rear sight here, might be able to see there with the angle of the light down here on both of those. Looks like somebody took a file to it. I believe the purpose of that is so it rests a little bit lower here, so it's got a more of a shorter zero compared to maybe, like, for example, 300 meter battle zero on like a 9130. So we can see here these type of barrel band springs are a milled style. The other ones that are just stamped kind of spring steel will not be shaped like this with this sharp of corners. This is a nice view of one right here. A little bit dirty, not a problem, not worried about that. Probably won't be doing any cleaning to it, but the action is ready to come out of the stock, and we'll take a look and see what's underneath. Just some dirt and grit and stuff underneath the handguard. And here's a look at the underside of the handguard, the little brass trim piece there, and the end cap. And here's a look underneath. Just looks like it's got some preservative grease, a little bit of oil or something in there. Not a big deal. Probably not going to do anything, not worried about that. A little bit of dirt as well. And not able to... Well, my battery died right in the middle of everything, so continuing here. Got some interesting marks. There we can see on the left a Russian U and some other stuff strung together. Hard to say what any of these could be or mean. And then the tang date here is very lightly struck, but you can make part of it out. It's kind of tough with the angle of the light there. But you can see a very lightly struck Izhevsk bow and arrow and a 1-9 stamp there. Can't make out the rest of the date. Maybe we can get in here with this like this. Kind of try. Alright, right there is the 1-9. We can see part of the bow right there of the bow and arrow and the fletching right here. So, not an antique, not a big deal. I do like the antiques, but everything else seems to be in pretty good order. It's got a one-piece interrupter. This is an earlier style, but pretty happy so far with everything, how it looks. Trigger's just a regular Mosin trigger. Nothing special about that. Maybe we can get a look down here inside the stock. Nothing really special about it either. It does look like this action has been in this stock for quite some time. But that pretty much sums up the 1917 Izhevsk Dragoon. Take a look here up close at the rear sight. There is the dovetail beneath it that it slides onto. Here we can get a look at the rear sight base, the dovetail that's beneath the rear sight. We can see how the rear sight comes flush with it. If this was to be an ex-Dragoon rifle, it would have the standard 9130 rear and front sights, most likely front sight as well, on it, and we would be able to see a small gap here. I will illustrate this difference with a picture. Ran a couple patches and a brush through and a bore snake down the bore here. Lands and grooves look pretty good. Seem to be pretty strong. Not super shiny. We can see some frosting there, the dark areas in the groove area there of the bore, but it's got plenty there. Looks like it'll shoot pretty nice. So one of these days we'll have to get it out to the range and see how it does. And here's just a quick look at the bullet test as well. It does seem to have a fair amount left in there. So this 1917 Izhevsk Dragoon is looking pretty good. Pretty neat find. I'd like to thank the fellow that accepted the trade. I don't think either one of us got hurt on that. And it's a real interesting piece to add to the collection as well. So thanks again for meeting. Real nice fella. Glad we had the opportunity to do it. And as requested, here is the 1917 Izhevsk Dragoon. So for now, Marshal Zhukov signing out.